Aging is often cast in the shadow of fear, as though it marks the end of vitality, and the slow descent into irrelevance. Society, with its relentless celebration of youth, cultivates this perception, painting wrinkles as imperfections and grey hair as a signal of decline. Advertisements promise eternal youth, as though the march of time were an enemy to be vanquished. Yet, Carl Jung viewed this stage of life through a profoundly different lens. He saw aging not as a deterioration but as an awakening, an invitation to embark on the true journey of the soul, the illusion of youthful pursuits. From childhood, we are conditioned to chase external achievements, success, recognition, and material wealth. The world tells us that happiness lies in the next promotion, the next possession, the next applause. In this pursuit, the ego becomes our master, driving us to define ourselves through societal metrics. But what happens when we reach midlife, and the applause fades? Jung recognized that the first half of life is about constructing the ego, building a persona to navigate society. Yet, this construction is merely the scaffolding for the real work to come. At 40, a subtle but powerful shift begins. The ambitions that once fueled our days start to lose their grip. The titles, possessions, and achievements no longer resonate with the same allure. This disillusionment is not a sign of failure but the soul's whisper that there is more to life than external accomplishments. Jung called this phase the individuation process, the movement from ego to self, the rebirth at midlife. The fear of aging is, in essence, the fear of the unknown. We cling to youth not because of its vitality but because it represents familiar territory. Yet, Jung suggested that midlife is a time of rebirth. It is when we are called to move beyond the ego and into the depths of our true nature. This transition is not about adding more to our lives but about letting go of illusions. Society conditions us to see aging as a decline. But in many ancient cultures, elders are revered as keepers of wisdom. In Eastern traditions, aging is seen as a journey toward enlightenment. The wrinkles that society scorns are etched lines of experience and understanding. Embracing this stage means embracing the wisdom that comes with it. The shadow self and its gifts. Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we suppress to fit societal molds. In youth, we project an image designed to win approval, often ignoring the deeper, more authentic parts of ourselves. But at midlife, the shadow demands recognition. This often manifests as a midlife crisis, a period when old patterns no longer suffice, and suppressed aspects of the psyche rise to the surface. Facing the shadow requires courage. It means acknowledging our fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled desires. Yet, in this confrontation lies liberation. The shadow, once integrated, becomes a source of creativity, authenticity, and inner strength. Midlife, then, becomes an opportunity to reclaim wholeness, not by discarding the past but by integrating its lessons. The ego's surrender to the self. The ego, while essential for navigating the external world, is limited in its understanding of life's deeper purpose. It thrives on comparison, competition, and control. The self, however, operates beyond these constraints. It is the essence of who we are when stripped of titles, roles, and societal expectations. Jung believed that the second half of life is when the self begins to emerge. But this emergence requires the ego to loosen its grip. It is a process akin to death and rebirth, the death of who we thought we were and the birth of who we truly are. This shift is often accompanied by a sense of loss, as familiar identities dissolve. Yet, beyond the discomfort lies a freedom previously unimaginable, reconnecting with the inner child. In the pursuit of adult responsibilities, we often abandon the wonder and curiosity of childhood. Jung emphasized the importance of reconnecting with this inner child, the part of us that approaches life with awe, creativity, and spontaneity. This reconnection does not mean shirking responsibilities but rediscovering the joy in life's simple moments. The childlike state is one of presence. Children live in the now, unburdened by past regrets or future anxieties. As adults, reclaiming this presence allows us to experience life's richness more fully. The sunset becomes more than a backdrop for a photograph, it becomes a moment of profound beauty. The laughter of a loved one transcends background noise and becomes a melody of connection. The spiritual dimension of midlife. Spiritual traditions across cultures recognize midlife as a period of profound transformation. In Buddhism, it is the time when individuals often turn inward, seeking understanding beyond the material world. In Hinduism, it marks the stage of vanaprastha, where one transitions from worldly duties to spiritual pursuits. Jung, influenced by these traditions, saw the psyche's development as inherently spiritual. He believed that the journey of individuation was not merely psychological but also a spiritual awakening. As the ego surrenders, the self aligns with a greater sense of universal connection. Life ceases to be a race for external validation and becomes a pilgrimage toward inner peace. Living authentically beyond 40. To live authentically in midlife is to embrace life's impermanence. It is to accept that aging is not the enemy but the teacher. The lessons of this stage are not about external conquests but about internal mastery. We learn to release the need for approval, to sit with discomfort, and to find joy in the present moment. Jung's insight reminds us that life does not end at 40, it begins. It begins when we stop running from time and start embracing its gifts. It begins when we release the masks and meet ourselves in our raw, unvarnished truth. And it begins when we recognize that the richest chapters of our story are not written in the years of youthful ambition but in the wisdom-filled years of authentic living. As we cross this threshold, we are invited to step into a life of greater simplicity and deeper meaning. The pursuit of more is replaced by the contentment of enough. The external noise of societal expectations gives way to the inner music of the soul's calling. And in this space, we find the ultimate paradox, that in letting go, we finally grasp the essence of who we truly are. Because life, as Jung teaches us, is not measured by the years we count but by the depth with which we live them. And for many, this depth is only truly discovered after 40, when the soul takes the lead and life, at last, truly begins.